I'm going to record my machine. I'll do your intro. Hey, everybody. Hi, it's me, Linda MarcusSmith, and I have another wonderful person for you to get to know today. I am so pleased. I've been courting this interview in my mind and via bothering him on social media for a while. And you got to stay nice. If you want someone to do something for you, you've got to remain nice. And this guy is so nice. I ran into him at the Olive Tree in New York, and he doesn't have to be nice to me, but he was. And he agreed in person to do this interview. So you guys get to know him. There's something so special about him. And I have to know what it is. I have to know what he's done, where you can follow him, all the regular stuff. But also, what makes him so wonderful? I used to watch his videos with, I think, him and his mom and his sister, if I'm correct, in Israel. And I watched him doing videos with Jessica Kirson, who's now like uber famous, and he's hilarious. I saw him perform live in New York at Gotham Comedy Club. He blew the roof off of the place, and you guys are gonna love him. So let's get to his intro right now. I looked it up so I could have the wrong Danny Cohn. Danny Cohn, or so I think this Danny Cohn, is known for Almost by Heller and Stone, 2019, Gotham Comedy Live, 2012, and People in the Park Eating, my thing messed up and I can't see, pastries, eating pastries. Is that the right Danny?
That's the right Danny, that's me.
Oh my gosh, Danny, hi.
How are you, Linda?
Fabulous. Danny, that's the same background that was in a lot of the videos you did.
This is my kitchen.
So, I love it.
Yeah. It's like it's my pineapple kitchen.
So beautiful.
Thanks.
So talk to me about, the world's been crazy lately. So before we get into your life and comedy, let's give a nod to all the mishigas that we've been through in the world lately and how you got through it, how people got through it.
Like when you mean like the pandemic?
The pandemic and all the crazy stuff in the world that's been going down, like just all the news, all the negativity. How do you get through that being an artist?
Oh, how do you get through like the general crazy, the general negative stuff that hits you day in and day out, whether it's on social media, the news? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm probably the worst person to ask because I allow it to affect me. And it's really exhausting. It's really exhausting.
Exhausting.
I totally get suicide. Like, I understand suicide. I can totally relate to people who want to end it. I totally relate to it because there's unless you have children, I can totally understanding wanting to kill yourself.
Yes.
And when people do, I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So I'm just thinking that suicide rates go up more and more.
Yes.
That's just the way it is because the world's probably not going to get any better.
Yeah.
Probably just going to get worse until there's a war. And then we're going to have to go through a war. And then, because that's what we do as human beings. We are greedy, we're selfish, we're ungrateful at large. Not everyone, but like the human being at large, in general, at large. Not all of us, but the majority of us are selfish and greedy and ungrateful. And then because of all those things, we create wars. and then there's a war, and then we cry during the war. We lose everything during the war, and then we are upset at the war, and then we are upset at life, and then we have to rebuild, and then we focus on rebuilding, and then we don't get to focus on, should I get a skirt steak or should I get filet mignon, or boy, God, this rib steak is chewy. I'm it returned. I can't believe that I ordered shoes that were off-white, but I got linen white. And I am just enraged. I'm writing to the company. All those little things that we complain about and that we get annoyed about, there's no time when you're rebuilding your country because you have no home anymore, because there's rubble. You're living in rubble, and there are no bathrooms, there are no hospitals, there's no money. People that are around you there are dead bodies around you. You've lost your children, you've lost your sibling, you've lost your family members and your friends, and you have to rebuild the country from scratch. Then you start rebuilding, and then you understand what it means to have nothing, and you understand how to be grateful. And so we are looking towards a war, a great war, and it's human nature that we can't, it's inevitable. We can't stop it. It is the human way of being. And so, you ask me for something enlightened. There's really nothing enlightening about the way the world is today. It's a very, very ugly world we're living in. And it's a very sad place because most of us are ungrateful and greedy and selfish, and we complain a lot about things that we shouldn't be complaining about. And we're headed towards a war, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Nothing. It's just going to happen.
Nothing.
And yeah, just like all the wars in history, they all happen for reasons, and for rightful reasons. Every war that happened for the right reason. It happened for the right reason, because we are human beings and this is what we do. And we're not changing for anything because we can't learn. We don't know how to learn. We just have to go through the cycle of human nature. And it's sad. It's very sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
And we're now witnessing a lot of death, a lot of everybody's waking up dead going on for no particular reason. And nobody's researching why they died. They just died of natural causes. And like Facebook has become obituary central. It's so depressing. Yeah.
Also, we're getting older, so a lot of our friends are dying because it's normal for people our age to have, that's how it graduates like that. When you're in your 20s, grandparents die. When you're in your 30s, you're pretty much in a safe zone. Your grandparents are still dying. When you're in your 40s, then your parents die. Then when you're in your 50s, then your friends start to die. It's like crazy. And then your siblings start to die in your 60s, and then you start to die in your 70s. Like, that's the way it is. So as we get older, everyone starts to die.
So true.
This is a really funny podcast so far. So much fun.
I do my best. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. So let's go into little Danny Cohn. Where in the world did you grow up? What kind of childhood? I love you so much. I can watch you and I get you. And I know that you're so special, so authentic, so real, so loving. And I want to know where that comes from.
That's sweet. Thank you so much. It's that's a sweet thing to say. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I'm the youngest of four. I'm the only non-immigrant in my family. My parents are from Egypt. They met in Paris and they fell in love in Paris, got married in Paris. I have a brother and a sister born in France. I have another brother born in Ethiopia. And I was born in Brooklyn. I'm the youngest. I was born in '68 in Brooklyn to a group of people that are non-indigenous to the United States. I was amongst immigrants my whole life. And now they all went back. They went to Israel. They moved to Israel. So I'm here alone. But My father was killed in an accident in 1973 in Queens, New York. A billboard fell on him and killed him. And my mother stayed here and continued to work and raise us here until I was 16. And when I was 16, she moved to Israel. And they live there now. My sister and my brothers, my mom, they all live in Israel. They all have families of their own. And I am here, living here. And I went into comedy 25 years ago when I was 27, 25. Yeah.
You always in school and at home, were you always the character?
I think so. I think so because I never wanted to go into comedy. People told me that I should go to get into comedy all the time. And I heard it enough that I was like, okay, because I never liked stand-up comedy. It wasn't appealing to me. It wasn't something I wanted to do. But it came very easy to me. So I just plunged in and watched it and then started learning how to write and how to develop a voice that was my own on stage. And so other than that, when I first started, I had no idea what stand-up comedy was. I never watched it ever in my life. I watched it once or twice, but I changed the channel because I was like, why am I watching somebody make me laugh with the microphone? It wasn't funny to me. That's not funny. Written jokes are not funny to me. But I heard it enough in my life where I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I gave it a shot when I was 27 years old. And I kept doing it and I liked it. It was fun. It was like I liked being in front of an audience. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching and learning something new and learning something that I could really be good at. And so I developed. It took me years to develop. It wasn't quick for me. A lot of people are quick to develop when it's something that you love and it's something that you understand and it's something you want to do. You're very quick to develop. It wasn't something I loved and it wasn't something I wanted to do. So it took me a very long time to develop and it took me a long time to actually like what I was doing. But I'm a patient person. So, but then I liked it. I liked it pretty quickly. Some aspects of it anyway. And voila, here we are.
So did you learn by book or by studying videotapes or classes or
all of it? So I was in an acting workshop and I was doing a one act in a little black box theater in Lower Manhattan. And somebody who was in the theater came up to me and said, "You're so funny, you should do stand-up." And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Everyone wants me to do stand-up. Everybody asks me to do stand-up. Every time I open my mouth, people are like, are you a stand-up comic? You should do stand-up. Are you a stand-up comic? You should do stand-up. And I always say, no, I'm not a stand-up comic. I hate stand-up comedy. You should do stand-up. You should do stand-up comedy. Here I was 25 in a theater and someone's like, you're so funny, you should do stand-up. I'm like, I just did a dramatic play. What's so funny about that? They're like, well, it wasn't dramatic. You're really funny and you should do stand-up. So he's like, and then he told me I'm doing stand-up as well. And I go to an open mic on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Gotham Comedy Club. You should come with me. Tomorrow is Thursday. Come with me at 4:30. Meet me there. Here's the address. He wrote it down. He said, be here at this time. Here's the address. So I said, you know what? Let me go and check this thing out. And I went up on stage. I had no idea what I was doing, but there was a nice feeling about the camaraderie of these people who were there. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing people. I felt like they were family. When I was there, I was very familiar with the vibe. The vibe was familiar to me and it felt very comfortable. And so I'm a big energy person and I dug the energy that was surrounding me by these comics and I knew they were my people. So I came back on Tuesday and then I went back on Thursday and then I went back again. And then I went to the owner of the club and I said, hi, I'd love a job here because I was looking for a part-time job. And he offered me, he said, well, I'm looking for a porter and someone to clean the bathrooms. I'm like, I'll take it. So I cleaned bathrooms and I did the dishes at Gotham Comedy Club for the first year. And in exchange, he would pay me. And he would also give me 2 spots a week on the pre-shows on Friday and Saturday. And I didn't have to bring anyone. I would just get a free spot on the pre-shows. So those were 2 spots. Plus I would do the 2 open mics. That was 4 spots a week. Plus I did 2 other open mics. So I was doing 6 spots a week. So I was learning, and I bought Judy Carter's book. And while I was working at Gotham Comedy Club, I would watch, they had classes there. So in between cleaning bathrooms and just like cleaning the floor, I would dip in and watch the class for about half an hour to 40 minutes. And I would learn, and I would watch the class over and over and over and over, and watch people and watch the critique and watch people and the teacher give them, and I would understand what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong, what the teacher wanted. Plus I was reading Judy Carter's book. Plus, as someone who was working the clubs, I was working there at night also. So people like Jim Gaffigan would come along, Lewis Black would come along, Julie Gold would come along, and they would get up on stage. And for free, I was just watching these shows and watching these great people perform. And I learned how to perform, and I learned via the class, and I read my book, and I was getting on stage, and I just learned a lot and was a sponge and just kept going and going. And I grew and I grew and I learned a lot. But that was the 90s, and that was when craft meant something, and that was when craft was everything, and it was a beautiful way to learn about the craft and about really finding your voice, a specific voice, and not being generic, really finding what makes you special, because, anybody can get up and tell jokes. But it's very, very special and very unique to find something that is you on stage, you. What makes you different than all the other stand-up comics? And that's your job as a stand-up comic, to find what makes you different than everybody else, and to craft that, to hone in on that, and to develop that. And once you do that, they can't take that away from you. It becomes your own trademark and your own idea. And that's what I did. It took me a long time to figure that out and to understand that. And then it happened. It took me a long time. Here we are, 27.
Explain to me, please explain to me what you are on stage. Because I watch you and you're at a level where I have no clue what you're doing. And I love watching people who are at a level and I can't break it down. So can you explain to me what you do on stage?
If I had to break it down, I would say I'm a romantic. I'm a romantic comic. My comedy is really quite romantic. There is a romance about it. There's also a lot of it changes. My comedy is constantly changing. So I'm a little bit of a loose cannon, as they would say in the business. It's like I'm not really someone you can rely on. I'm unreliable, which is not a good thing. You want to be reliable. You want to be consistent. I'm not consistent, and I'm not reliable, because I love the idea of morphing and changing as I grow. I'm not interested in developing a voice. I'm not interested in creating a product for myself. I don't want to create a product. It's a smart business move to create a product. And I know that, and I don't really give a shit about that at all. I don't care about creating a product. I'm only interested in being truthful to what is real in my life at the moment. And so it can move and it can change, and I can become very blue. I used to be known as a very clean comic, and now I'm a very blue comic. I'm not clean at all. It changes, and it doesn't serve me well at all. It's not something that people should do. I don't recommend it for anyone. But if I had to say, if I had to break down what I am on stage, at the end of the day, because it's my love, at the end of the day, it's what I love. It's what I always go back to, is romance. I'm a romantic. At the no matter what, at the end of every, no matter how I write a joke, it always is always romantic. It's always has a romantic ending. I don't know. I don't know why. It is what it is. Maybe it's because I lack romance in my life. So maybe it's because I lack romance. I've always been single. I've never had a relationship. Um, maybe I look, it's very possible. I probably deep inside long for love, and I don't have love. And so my conversation, my jokes on stage have a very romantic, a very loving way about them. No matter how edgy and how dark I talk about my subjects, I'm always gonna be romantic. I'm always gonna throw that. It's sort of like sweet and spicy, a sweet and spicy meatball. My cuisine will always be sweet and spicy.
Love
If
that.
for
I
as much
saw you when you're doing a joke. Sometimes I feel like you start with a premise and you play with it on stage, and it starts out one way, and you can talk about it, and then you can negate it and talk about flip it and talk about the other side, and what about this and what about that. That cracks me up the way you do it. And like right a few minutes ago when you're talking and thinking, I I feel like you're authentically up there creating your craft on stage for us, because I see you looking up, and like, to me that's an artist looking up for the creativity, and I feel like you're actually modeling something right in front of our very eyes, special just for us.
I do that a lot. I do that a lot, especially and I'll tell you, you probably see that a lot, witness it a lot, because I don't do the road, and that's what comics do on the road for the most part. They'll develop on the road, and then they'll come back to the big city where they play at the good clubs, at the top clubs, with a more refined joke. Me, I don't do the road. I don't drive. I don't like to do the road. I'm a waiter. I wait tables. I choose to wait tables as opposed to doing the road because I'm scared of the road. I don't have a driver's license. I don't do the road. I'm not interested in flying out, taking an Uber and a Lyft. I have lonely issues. I don't enjoy it. It's not a lifestyle that I am. I'm just not interested in that kind of lifestyle to do the road. Plus, I am somewhat, I'm a little bit of a religious Jew. I'm not completely an Orthodox Jew, but I don't work on the Sabbath, which means I don't work on Friday nights. And I don't work on Saturday night because sometimes the Sabbath lets out late. So it's very hard for me to work on Saturday night. And I certainly don't work on Friday nights, which is a comic's life. So it's a very strange business that I went into as someone who's an Orthodox Jew going into stand-up comedy. And on top of it, I am not one that panders to an audience. So I'm not the kind of comic that would write for a Jewish audience, someone like Modi or Alon Gold, who don't have to work on Friday nights, and they pander to an Orthodox Jewish audience, and they can work around on their schedule to their schedule, but they have to pander to these audiences. And I am not interested in pandering to any audience at all. I'm interested in you jumping on board and letting me take you for the ride of your life, and you will love it, but you have to jump on board. If you don't jump on board, you're going to be left behind. And that's also one of my things in my stand up. You have to jump on board, and I make it very easy for my audience members to jump on board. I allow them to jump on board. I know how to write to get them on board, and some people refuse. Some people are hard asses and they don't want to jump on board. They're waiting for me to come to them. They came to the show, and it's about them, and they want to be pandered to, and they want attention on them, and they refuse to jump on board. There are others, many lovers of comedy, that come to have a drink, just to chill out, and they just want to watch and they want to be taken away. And those people are my people, because if you want to be taken away, you're going to have the best time with me, because I'll take you away. So that's the kind of comic I am. So it's a very complicated, I got myself into a big mess with all of this, but it's fine. It's it is what it is, it's all very truthful. And but it wasn't very smart. It's not a very smart, it's not a, I didn't make a smart, this wasn't a smart move in my life, because the end result when you're a stand-up comic is that you want to become successful. You want to become successful. You want your work to pay off. And for many years, you don't make money. For many years, you're working really hard, developing. And then your time will come where you're going to get special, where you're going to become famous. And with fame comes money, and the money you deserved, and the money that you put in a lot of time. So, when you see people who are making money and they're, and they put in their time, it's a great thing. And it's a very sad thing when you see comics who are really talented not figuring out how to make the money that they deserve. And that's business is a big part of show business. It is show business after all. It's called show business. So there's show, business of show, and you have to do both. You have to be a showman. You also have to be a good business person. And I chose not to be a good business person. I chose just be a good showman, but it doesn't get you far in the business. So it's a big mistake to do what I did. But it's taught me a lot about my life. It's taught me a lot about my heart. It's taught me a lot about who I am and how I walk through this world. It's allowed me to grow as a human being. Stand-up comedy has allowed me to. It really gave me a lot of insight to who I am and how I think and how I maneuver, and other people, and a lot of things. Just a lot of different people, different walks of life, and all of that. I would have never been the person I am if it wasn't for stand-up comedy. I would have been a very, very, I almost use the word neglected, but that's not the word I want to use, but I like the word neglected, because I feel like I would have neglected myself, because, I learned so much about myself and about the world as a stand-up comic. And that's a beautiful thing. If you can walk away with that, it's great. I don't have any money, but I got my health, and I have, somewhat good spirits, I suppose, sometimes on a good day. Sometimes I get very angry at myself for not being smarter and not, doing the right thing for myself, which is to really be this person. It could be upsetting, but then I let it go and I tell myself, these are the choices you made. You knew what you were doing, and you have to be okay with it. And then I'm like, okay. And then I let it go, and then I march on,
Well, I gotta say, even with the restraints that you have placed on comedy for you, that work for you, even with those, of the entire lineup the night I caught you at Gotham, there was some heavy hitters on that stage that night. And I mean, there was DC Benny, Ryan Reese. I can't remember the other people. You were by far the most entertaining, enjoyable, authentic, real, touching lives. You weren't just spewing crap. And I'm not trying to talk down the others. There was something special about what you do that other people weren't doing. And I'm so thankful you took time to break down what you do. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be up there just regurgitating memorized jokes so that you guys like me. It's the other way around. I want to show that I love them. I'm here for, and it's not us against them. It's we got to be in this together.
Right. Right.
Audience and the comedian have to be one.
Right. Right.
To me, but
Right. Right. Well, that's a very important thing. You need to get them on board with you. That's definitely, and you have to do that pretty immediately. You need to do that within the first 10 to 30 seconds that you're on stage. You have to get them on board. So you have to go up on stage and come up with a line that allows them to love you and allows them to know that it's okay, that everything's going to be okay between you and them. And once that they feel safe, then they're on board, and then you can go on, and then you can take them wherever you want to take them. So it's very important for you and your audience to become friendly immediately, and not in a you and if you can do it in a creative way that makes it stand out to you, because there are many generic ways of becoming friendly with an audience in the first 10-15 seconds, but it's really spectacular if you can do it in a way that is your way. That's how you do it, because then it's magnificent. Then it's like, wow, she's like funny and crazy. She's special. Who's this? I don't know. She's hilarious. And then they believe in you. It's like magic, you know?
So what are some of the things that you have tried that you quit doing to get them on board? I mean, I don't want to give away your secret how you get them on board if you don't want to, but I know what I do to get people on board. I just want to hear some of yours.
No, there are no secrets. I don't have any secrets. There really are no secrets, because the work it's such a craft and it's such hard work that if you can do it, great. I know some comics that really are not funny, but they figured out the recipe and they follow a recipe, and the audience laughs because they understand the rhythm of what a joke is, and they follow a recipe, and they're really just not funny, but the audience doesn't understand that they're not funny, and they're just laughing because they're supposed to laugh. And it's amazing to watch these specific comics that are not funny, that they know the recipe, and it's amazing. So there are recipes, and there are no secrets. If you could figure out how to do it, great. I like to get up on stage, and I love a non sequitur. Or I like going on stage in the middle of a conversation. I think that is crazy to me. I think it's a little off. It makes me look like something's wrong with me. It makes me look that like they don't understand what's going on. The joke's on them, which makes me happy. So I'm sort of making fun of my audience when I walk on stage in the middle of a conversation, and they have no idea what's going on because they missed the first part of the conversation. And then I just go from there. And
so precious.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's like, but that's what I do, And I've learned that from people in my life that I used to laugh at all the time. I had friends that would just come at me. I wouldn't even see them. I'd be at a party, and then they would just come at me from the left. And I would be like, they would be right, they start talking to me, but like they would be in the middle of the conversation. And it was just so genuine and so amazing that I was like, oh my God, what? And then I would be like laughing at them, with them, and I would be on board already, because they already got me on board because they were so excited in the middle of a conversation. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, and it's like, you're there. So that's how I enjoy a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times I'll get up on stage like that. Like with them.
I have two ways I like to get people on board. It's at my age, I'm 72. It's really important. I'm old, white, straight as an arrow. It's really important that I get people to understand that I'm not what you think I am. I'm so different than what people, if you knew everything I've been through, I don't, it's like a one-woman show. So how do you get across to them? So I like to do two different things. I like to, when they call out, before they even announce that I'm coming to the stage, I'm where the audience can see me doing something crazy.
Oh, fun.
And like one time I was acting like a horse where you're going like this, trying to get on, hurry up and shut up so I can get on stage. And then another thing I love to do is, the song by the Platters, I'm the Great Pretender.
Yeah, sure.
I like to start off just like look at everybody and go, oh yes, I'm the great pretender, pretending that I'm doing well, and then do my stuff.
Right. Right.
And I don't
Right.
know if it makes sense, but it usually disarms people.
Right. Disarming people is a fun thing to do. I mean, that's just one way to, there are many ways. Yeah. I also like talking about, I like also being very much in the moment. It's very important to be really in the moment when you're on stage. It's a very real thing for everyone because everybody is feeling what you're feeling and you're addressing that moment. And so that's also a very traditional way of opening up your act. There's so many ways of doing it. And then you figure out.
That's been so hard for me to be in the moment because I'm still at the level where I'm creating something and giving it to the audience, trying to show them I love them. And being in the moment hasn't been my strong suit yet, but I'll work on that.
That's a good thing for you to work on. It's a very, very important muscle to be in the moment and to really be there and feel what they're feeling, and feel what you're feeling.
It's so weird because in real life, I'm always in the moment. But when I get up on stage, it's like too much else is going through my veins.
Right. And that's okay. You can, maybe you can talk about that. It will help relieve the idea that you can't be in the moment. Is talk about how you want to be in the moment, right away. Go, hi, I want to be in the moment right now. And I have a really hard time of being in the moment, but I'm going to really force myself to be in the moment right now. And as you're saying it, you're going to actually be in the moment. And then you're in the moment. You're in reality. You are in the moment when you say you're in the moment. And then you can go from there and just figure it out. It's a good way to get to a place. It's like it's a laws of attraction almost. It's like you're saying what you want. And then in doing so, it leads you to the next place. But you gave yourself the chance. And you have to give yourself that chance. So that's good. That's a good way to do it if you want to do that. The little trick.
I'll try it tonight at the mic.
Good. Try it. Might go up and go, I want to be in the moment. And I don't really know what that means because I'm nervous and I want to just feel this feeling. And right now, and then you talk about your feelings and then go and then be prepared in where you're going to go and be prepared on how you're going to end it. So as long as you can sort of just bullshit on stage for the first minute and then go somewhere after that, and take your time. Don't rush through it. Really be there. And it's a little hard. It's hard, but take your time doing so. You'll
I'm gonna do that. That sounds so great. Have you ever done this exercise on stage where the person running the mic gives you words and you have to make a set list out of the words that he gives you? You get prompts and you come up with a whole new comedy set from just the words the host gave you.
Maybe years ago at the Parkside, maybe at like open mics back in the 90s and the turn of the century. I don't remember. I know I call it the turn of the century because I don't know how to say 0 zeros. I just call it the turn of the century. I call it 2001, 2002, 2003, 4, and 5 the turn of the century. And people always like, what are you talking about? What turn of the century? I'm like, during the turn of the century, with like 1999 and 2000, and then we had the century at the turn of the century. And I have to explain to people what the turn of the century is. Like, you don't know what the turn of the century is? But turn of the century, I would do open mics, and we had a lot of games. But I haven't done that in years, in a long time.
So what do you do when you're not waiting on tables and when you're not doing comedy?
A lot of things. I spend a lot of my time live on Instagram. I'm live. I do a lot of talking. I talk a lot on I do this a lot. If this is a podcast, but I would do this like live on Instagram. And I talk about things that are on my mind. I talk about things that are going on in my life. I read comments and then I'll talk to people via their comments, you know. I am I just finished writing a screenplay, and that took me a while. That was like a little thing that I did. And I did that, and it's I'm very proud of it. I think it's a beautiful screenplay. I think it's
What's it about? What's it called? Are you able to tell us anything?
yeah, sure. Um, it's about childhood wounds and how we bring our childhood wounds into our adulthood. About complex trauma. It could be anything from a small wound to a very big trauma, and how it affects us if we don't address it, or how it does affect us in our adulthood, whether we address it or not. And it's about a stand-up comic who is struggling with a childhood wound, and that's what it's about. It's like sort of a coming of middle of age. It's coming of age and coming of middle of age, because it takes it. The narrative of the screenplay bounces back and forth from the early 80s to the present day a few times throughout the script. So we go back and forth. So it's a coming of age story, but it's also a coming of middle of age story. So the main character, you see the main character coming of age as a young person and then as an adult at the same time throughout the movie. So it's a beautiful sort of like circular. It's beautiful and it's circular and it's heartwarming and it's funny, and it's full of hope. And the movie ends and you feel like $1 million. It really is about really pushing through, and it's a little bit of a popcorn movie, I would say. The genre is a very easy genre. It's one of those fun, I love that genre, like the movie Big or Fried Green Tomatoes or Juno. It's one of those fun movies, those upbeat movies that make you cry and make you laugh. And yeah,
I love that. I want to see it when it comes out. Please let me know how to see it.
I hope somebody just wants to make it. It's a little bit of a big budget, so I can't make it on my own, I don't think. I'm trying to figure out ways of doing it on my own, but I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. So anyway.
Have you submitted it to the Lower East Side Film Festival?
No, they don't. They only take finished movies, and this is a script, so they don't accept scripts.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, but there are places that do accept scripts. We'll see.
Yeah. So is it something that needs like a Broadway producer or off-Broadway producer, or what's the next? Who's the kind of person that needs to step up? They might be watching this.
Ideally, if like Judd Apatow read it, or if someone like Amy Schumer read it, or someone who is a big enough star or big enough power that can walk into the studio with a script saying, this is a script I'd like to make, they will say, okay, we'll read it, we'll get back to you. Oh, this is what you want to do? Great. Your name's attached to it. Great. Or will you be starring in it, producing it, directing it? What do you will be directing it and producing it? Wonderful. What's your budget? I don't know. I think we're going to need between 15 and 20 million to make it. Great. We'll give you 15 and 20 million to make it. And then they start casting and they put it together and they form a production team and then cast and then they start shooting.
Great. Well, if you're out there listening to this and you know anybody in the position that can walk in and say, here's a script, and they have the power to be in the show or whatever, like Danny just said, please let Danny Cohn know or myself.
Thank you.
Miracles can happen. I'm just saying. So yeah. Okay, tell people where they can help your career and exactly how.
So none of you can help my career. So that's okay. But you can follow me on Instagram at Danny Cohn World if you want to have fun. And that's it.
And every day you're on there live?
Yeah. I go live.
At a certain time?
Oh, it could be very random. Like after I get off with you, I'll be going live.
Talking about me?
Oh, maybe if I come up. But yeah, I'll be talking about I don't know what I'll be talking about. I never really have a plan. I'll go
watch you. I'll go listen.
That's fine.
Okay, see you there. And thank you so much for coming on and being a wonderful person to know.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Thank you so much, Linda. And I'll see you around.
Let's see you around. Okay, bye. Love